Hi, my name is Raheem Aljamain, and this is another episode of Into Your Reality. I have the distinct pleasure right now to be sitting here with Miss Cassandra. Miss Cassandra, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Good deal. Miss Cassandra, the name of the broadcast is Into Your Reality. So, can I go into your reality?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So, tell me a little bit about yourself. Introduce.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cassandra Pryor Howard. I am the third child of 6, and this will be my reality.
Okay.
I have 3 sons, ages 26, 23, and 16 years old. My sons are my strength. They give me more strength than anything. I have experienced so much in my life that sometimes I feel like I'm up and sometimes I feel like I'm going down. But as long as I know I have my children beside me and giving me that strength, I'm always back up again. And with God's will, I'm always on the right path.
Good deal. Good deal. Tell me a little bit about your sons.
I have a 26-year-old son who has had 3 open heart surgeries.
Wow.
He has rheumatic heart disease, and it causes his valves to leak constantly. Every 5 years, he's supposed to have open heart surgery, and he would not allow them to do it every 5 years. He have that much strength and believe that God's going to keep it going constantly until his body gives out. So once his body gives out, then that it's time for him to go ahead and have his surgery done. He's been struggling with this ever since he was 5 years old. And with him being 26 years old, he's a very strong kid. Mm-hmm. Every time he has open heart surgery, he walks up out of there. He unplugs everything from him and sit there on the side of the bed waiting on the doctors to come and get him. He's that strong. And then dealing with this, you really can't tell that he has this problem because of the type of kid that he is. He hides everything. And I have learned to hide my problems by watching my oldest hide his.
Mm. Now, you said that he had how many open heart surgeries?
He have had 3 open heart surgeries.
Mm. Mm.
And on his first open heart surgery, he was 6 years old, and the doctor came and told us he might not survive the open heart surgery. He walked into the room, and he asked the doctor if he believed in God. And the doctor looked at him and said, actually, I'm an atheist, and no, I don't believe in God. My son held his hand and said, you will believe in God after this because only you can survive me. My son had to have open heart surgery, and throughout everything that he was going through on that morning, they came back and they told us, well, he didn't survive that, and that what we have to do is try to see what can we do to keep him going because we don't think that what we're doing for him is going to work. After having all those doctors sit down with me, the doctor that he held his hand and told him, only you can survive me, that doctor stood up and walked right back in there by himself and helped my son survive his open heart surgery. And once he survived that open heart surgery, he came back in, he said, I do believe in God now. He said, because if it wasn't for your son telling me that I'm the only one that can survive him, I wouldn't be who I am right now. He said, I felt God's presence. And since that 6-year-old kid told me I'm the only one that can survive him, I am most definitely, and I do believe in God. And that doctor told us that. When he told us that, I said, oh, wow, a 6-year-old allowed a doctor to tell him that only he can survive him and allow him to be where he is right to this day. And that doctor told us that he has been going to church every since my son told him that. And he is one true believer that God does exist.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That is amazing right now. As a matter of fact, we could end the broadcast right now because that within itself is absolutely amazing. Let's talk about your other sons.
My 23-year-old son, he has systemic lupus, which is dermatomyositis, is a condition that allows his body to do different kind of things. It starts off with his skin, and with his skin becoming very infected, red, like somebody put a match to his skin, and then it starts turning purple. So once it starts turning purple, it gets to his bloodstream and it starts to caused his organs to tear down,
Mm.
as well as caused him to be paralyzed. We didn't know he had this skin condition until he was in the 9th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and he was having a hard time waking up out of the bed. When he get out, he would have to crawl out of the bed. So just so happens that his brother's mom on his dad's side allowed us to go into one of her appointments that she wanted and had for 6 months. So she said, you know what, just let him go because something is really going on with this kid. We get there and they did a biopsy on him. And when they did a biopsy, they called us back within the next day and told us we needed to get him to the hospital immediately because he was dying. And that's when we found out that he has dermatomyositis, which is a systemic lupus that causes him to his organs to shut down as well as causing his bones to deteriorate. So we've really been fighting this with him. But what I teach my kids is that whatever the doctor tells them that they have,
Mm-hmm.
is the difference. Don't believe it, even though you know it's there. You don't have to believe it. Just think the opposite. Start thinking positive because as long as you know and they're telling you that you have this condition, it's going to affect you. Mm-hmm. Do not allow that to affect you. Keep on living day to day. And my kids have been living, my sons have been living day to day, not even allowing anything that the doctor have told them that it would affect them for the rest of their life. They don't believe in what the doctor's saying, okay, they're going to affect you for the rest of your life. Because like they say, Mom, we know we have a long time to live. And whatever they say, well, we rebuke it in the name of Jesus because we know God got our balance. Mm-hmm. And my sons do believe that they are healed no matter what because they know one day they will be healed from that. Mm-hmm. And I have a 16-year-old, he's struggling with chronic asthma. Mm-hmm. And we constantly have to keep him on the breathing machines all the time due to the fact that his immune system is kind of weak, so it's really like affecting it. And with my 3 sons having these conditions, it only strengthens me to pull closer and closer to God. I grew up in church. Mm-hmm. Okay. And with me growing up in church, I know the difference in knowing what's right and what's wrong. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In my household, you have to know what's right and what's wrong the way I was brought up. Yes. My grandmother was a praying grandmother, and so as my mother. Mm-hmm. And having those 2 ladies praying for you, you know everything is going to be all right, no matter what. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, I come from a prayerful family. Yes. I come from a prayerful family. Mm-hmm. And having support from my family, it keeps me strong. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, family's going to have their problems regardless, but no matter whatever happens between my family, we still strong. We're going to always be strong. Mm-hmm. We're going to always be there to support each other. Mm-hmm. There was a situation where that I got shot, and I have 6 bullet holes straight across my body, in my right arm, 2 bullet holes in my right arm. I have a bullet hole in one side of my breast on the right side, 2 bullet holes right through my chest, and another one on the left side of my breast. And through grace and mercy, I live today to tell this story. I visioned that I had got shot a year before it happened. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And visioning it constantly every other month, I'm knowing that it's going to happen. Even though I was praying the difference, I'm knowing that it was going to happen. On September the 9th, I got ready to leave church early. And my grandmother always have told us, even the pastor told us, you never leave church before the benediction. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything can happen. I was so scared. We was taught that so much. I was so scared that I didn't want to leave. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, it felt like my body was lifted up from my feet, and I started walking toward the door. When I came out of the front door, my godmother met me on the side door, and she looked at me. And when she walked straight toward me, she said, "You're going to be okay," because I told my godmother what I visioned. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she kept praying for me when nobody else was praying for me. She kept praying for me. When she grabbed me by my hand and hugged me, she said, "It's going to be okay." She said, "You're going to come through it." Mm-hmm. And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Your vision." that was the day that I told her about my vision.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to telling her, she already knew. She's seen the same vision in me that I've seen in myself.
Wow.
And she said, that's the reason why I came on this side to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
She said, God got you, no matter what. As I was walking, I was constantly crying and praying to God. So I stopped by a friend of mine's house, and I was told that she had got home from the hospital because she was burned all over her body. So when I decided to stop by her house to check up on her, to see how she was doing, and as I was leaving, I noticed that the time that I was leaving her house, here I am starting on that journey for what's about to happen later on that night.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was leaving, more tears started shedding constantly. And I was holding my oldest son's hand. He was the only child I had at the time. I was holding his hand. And he looked at me. He said, Mommy, don't cry. It's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept walking. When I got home, I pulled my shoes off, pulled my dress off, and I couldn't pull anything else off after that. So I sat on the bed. I couldn't sleep. I wanted to take a nap. I couldn't. He was able to take a nap when my mom and the rest of the family got home from church. My mom said, well, we're going to my mom's house. That's okay. She said, you want to go? I said, no, ma'am. I said, I don't want to go. So she took everybody with her, including my son. I got up from the bed from sitting there for 4 hours. I walked into the living room. I sat right in front of the TV. I dozed off. When I woke up, everything began to happen more, deeper. This is when I looked at the TV and I knew in my vision I was going to be watching American Funniest Videos, had something to do with the dogs. And when I opened my eyes, that show was on. And this was a new episode that was in my vision. So that show was on. And when that show was on, I had a knock at the door. And when I looked to my right, a friend of mine came and I said, I was expecting you. She said, you was expecting me? I said, yes. I said, I was expecting you. She said, okay. She said, you don't walk on the hill. And I told her, I said, no, I don't want to walk on the hill right now. It's because I'm going through some things right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat back down and I laid back. And I said, you know what, as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and walk with you. As we was walking, constantly I was crying. She couldn't tell because it was dark where we were walking at. And she couldn't tell that I was crying. So when I got up on the hill, I seen my uncle. I seen one of my uncles, and I stood up there and talked to him for a few minutes. Before I walked away from my uncle, I told him, I said, well, we headed this way. I love you. And he stood up and he hugged me. And he sat back down. He said, just be careful while you walking down that way. A lot of fights been going on. And that's okay. I said, God got me. So as I was walking and I got to the store, and I noticed that this guy had jumped into my cousin's car. And when he jumped into my cousin's car, I didn't know that he was kidnapping my cousin's kids at the time. I thought maybe they was playing a joke on him, but they wasn't playing a joke on him. So as we was walking backwards, that's when when I was walking back toward the area, that's when I found out then that the guy had kidnapped his kids and took them so far on the lake till a couple found them and called the police and told them where the kids were. They got the kids. When they got the kids, they explained to the police everything that was going on, as if the police, they didn't care, as like they don't care now. So they didn't care at the time. And all of a sudden, a crowd just started forming all around us. I walked into the laundry room and I had my neighbor's daughter, and I said, okay, I'm gonna leave you right here. I'll be right back. Came back outside. The part that I didn't see in my vision was getting into the car with my sister and my cousin. So I left my friend there and I went and got in the car with my sister, my cousin, and my nephew. And I got back from with them. They said, okay, let's go across the street, see what's going on over there. We stopped in the store. We came out of the store. We walked. We stood. My cousin and I, we stood on this little platform that separated the store from the laundromat. And as I was standing there, my neighbor's daughter came and she was looking at me. So I went and got her. And as I stood there with her, I'm saying to myself, okay, this part is not in my vision. Maybe this is not going to happen. Maybe it was just something that was getting me prepared on another day. So when I seen a group of guys coming up, argument started. I got my neighbor's daughter and I walked her back into the laundromat where her mom was. I came back out on the stoop, stood beside my cousin, and all of a sudden the argument started. The owner of the laundromat came out. He's the one that started these guys shooting at each other because he got his gun, came out and shot up in the air. So when he shot up in the air, that's when everybody started running.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't run. And at the time, neither could my cousin. Everybody turned around to see where the altercation was coming from. So as we was looking straight, we noticed that my cousin and then the guy that had kidnapped his kids was arguing. His uncle came out of nowhere and stood between them. And when he stood between them, he was trying to prevent the fight from happening.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling them, this is not right. Anybody can come in this area. You can't say we cannot come here because we live on the outside of the city limits.
Mm-hmm.
So the guys kind of got upset. A fight was about to begin. The uncle said, no, this is not going to happen like this. Before we knew it, he gets shot. Everybody started running everywhere. I couldn't run. It's like I was glued where I was. So I couldn't run at all. And when I turned around, I looked at my cousin. I said, you been shot? She said, no, you been shot. I said, I don't feel any pain. I have not been shot. So I'm looking at her, and the whole time I was shot. So when I looked, the guys that was on the ground was one of them was my relative. He jumped up to grab my cousin. By the time he can get me, he told me, he said, you never ran. He said, you was walking as if you were just walking in slow motion. And when I got in front of the store, people were running, trying to crowd up in the store. My cousin / brother was trying to pull me in the store along with them. He noticed then that I was shot. At that time, I still didn't know I was shot. So at that time, I felt something come over me. And when my cousin had my arm, I just released him from me and let the other people in front of me go in the store while I helped shut the door. I turn around slowly. Everybody's still running. I'm still just moving very slow. And when I got beside these two young girls, they were screaming and hollering. So as they was screaming and calling out people names, calling out the person name that had, I guess he must have gotten shot across the street or something. And I looked at them and they looked at me and they said, you been shot, you bleeding, you bleeding. I said, no, that's not my blood. It's not my blood. And when I turned around and looked at those young ladies, I felt my body shift in front of them. When my body shifted in front of them, I felt heat straight across my chest. But here I am still not knowing I was shot straight across my chest.
Wow.
My cousin, another relative of mine, had his wife and son. He jumped over his car to grab them and pull them in. His wife was trying to grab me because she knew at that time I had gotten shot. So when she called out my name, I looked at her. She said, get down, get down. Here I am still in slow motion. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. But when she told me, she seen blood shooting out of my chest, she knew I was gone. And at that time, she said, that's when my cousin grabbed her and pulled her underneath their vehicle. And all I can remember from that point was that my brother had twin friends. And I remember one of them over me, he was laying flat over me to make sure nobody ran over me or anything. So when my cousin, LaRon, finally got out of the store, him and his friend, Bobby James, they thought I was gone. Because they said you had lost so much blood, they thought I was gone. And at the time, my cousin said he pulled his jacket, laid it across me. And when he laid that jacket across me, he said all he can see himself was doing was fighting, trying to find out who shot me. He said they were not going to get away with it. My brother's friend said, what we did, he said, we grabbed you. We picked you up because the ambulance was not coming fast enough. We put you in the Batmobile, which is this guy's car that we call the Batmobile, and they put me in that car and they rushed me to the hospital. And he told me there was so many times that I didn't have a pulse. He said they slapped me, they even was hitting me, were pinching me, and I didn't have no kind of response. When I got to the hospital, my eyes was wide open because I seen them rolling me through to a room. And as I seen them rolling me through to that room, I didn't want none of them to leave. And as I was laying there in the bed, they was trying to do everything they can to prepare me. They knew that I was shot up in here, but I never felt no pain in here. All of a sudden, I just started feeling the pain in my right arm. I kept complaining about my right arm because at this time, that's when the pain started happening in my right arm. And after that, I couldn't remember anything. When I woke up looking down at myself.
Wow.
When I turned around, I seen my aunt holding my son, and she was just holding on to him. And I'm looking at her like, wow, am I really gone? I mean, I'm looking at everybody outside of the hospital because it was hundreds of people standing outside the hospital trying to fight because my family wanted to know. My family is well respected in my hometown. Very well respected. And they wanted to know who shot me. Or they wanted to know who did it. Who did it? My uncles left and my cousins left on their feet walking trying to find out who did this. Because the policemen had ran themselves.
Okay.
They didn't know what to do because when they found out that it was a baker's child, they went their separate ways. They was like, you know what? This kid is a baker. They're gonna handle this. There's no need for us to do anything. They're gonna handle this instead of them trying to do what they needed to do. They felt like my family would handle everything. But as I was seeing all of this happening on the outside, here I am still up looking down at myself. And I'm like, okay, God, I know I'm not gone. I know I've seen myself getting shot, but I didn't see myself leaving out of my body. So I'm looking back and I'm seeing a light and like, okay, where's my pain? I don't have any more pain. Why isn't the pain there? What is really going on with me? Did I die? I always look back at my son and that's no, this is not the time. This is not the time. So as I was looking down, I'm assuming 30 minutes had passed by. They still didn't, they wasn't getting nothing from me. No response, no pulse, no anything after 30 minutes. I noticed when the nurse pulled the sheet over me and she had it right across my eyes. And I said, oh my God, are they saying that I'm gone? When I turned around and looked back, an angel turned me back around. Basically was walking me back toward the other way to come back into my body. When I woke up, I was complaining about my arm. Here I am not knowing about my chest. I'm still complaining about my arm. Even though I seen myself bloody in here, I didn't know I was shot in here. I'm thinking the blood still coming from my arm. When I came back through, the lady said, there's nothing we can do. I heard her say that. And the minute I felt that pain, I grabbed my arm and she jumped. She said, oh my God, this lady is alive. And when I grabbed my arm, she said, no, don't move. You got too many bullet holes in you. We're trying to do whatever we can to help you. You gotta lay flat. I tried my best to get up. I couldn't get up. I couldn't move. And I kept telling her, my arm. When the police officer, when she came, she stood beside me. And she said, ma'am, we want to ask you questions. And the nurse was telling her, you can't answer no questions right now. This lady's going through this. We got to help get the family. Please help us get the family out of here. So, ma'am, you don't know this family, but please help us get the family out of here. My family refused to leave. So they said, no, we're going to stand here. We're going to make sure she survived. My family was standing right next to me praying. Kept saying, she done died too many times to leave us this time. And when that happened, I noticed that my arm, I lifted up my arm. When I lifted up my arm, that's when my godmother walked. And she said, she's complaining about her arm. What's going on with the arm? When they looked at my arm, they noticed that the bullet that was still in my arm, it was a 38.
Mm-hmm.
And it was burning my skin that whole time.
Wow.
It was burning my skin so bad, and that's the reason why I was having that much pain.
Mm-hmm.
So when they pulled the bullet out, that's when the police officer noticed, she said, oh, this is a 38. So when they pulled the bullet out from my left breast, the other officer said, wow, this is a 9mm. And said, she's still surviving now, being shot with a 38, and we pulling out a hollow point, and now we pulling out a 9mm?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Woo. Y'all pray for family. He turned around and looked at my family. He said, y'all are prayer for family. They got my family to leave house.
Mm-hmm.
And when my family left out, my godmother stayed there with me. And she whispered to me, she said, I told you was going to make it. She said, even though you were dressed in all white, ready for heaven,
mm-hmm.
God wasn't ready for you yet because you got too much on this earth to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when I told her later on, I said, I got a lot that I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I look back at all of that. The guy that blew the guy's face off, blew my cousin's uncle face off, he got killed instantly. My cousin's uncle was killed instantly. It was 4 people, I think, that was shot that night.
Okay.
And I was the innocent bystander that had gotten shot.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one that got killed. And the other 2 guys were the ones that started the fight. So they were one of the ones that got shot as well.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout that night, my uncles walked the street all night long. My brothers walked the street all night long.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that there was peace in that community. They kept peace in that community because where were the policemen?
Mm-hmm.
To me, they were hiding.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't want to have no part of it because they knew that I was a child that they feared for, that the family might do something.
Mm-hmm.
But my family stayed calm the whole time. All they wanted was the person that did it.
Mm-hmm.
But when they found out it was 2 bullets, they wanted the people that did it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my uncle went to one of the homes and shot this home up, it was because he didn't know that I survived. Mm-hmm. And when he finally realized I survived, he did go to jail that night. And they didn't charge him for no crimes. They kept him there to keep him calm.
Mm-hmm.
But when I found out my uncle did this, I wasn't hurt. It's just that our family was hurt because the police was nowhere around. Mm-hmm. They was running like everybody else were. Instead of helping out and helping people, they get in their cars and they take off and leave. Mm-hmm. So at this time, I'm healing. And the crazy part about it is that I received a big fruit basket from Denzel Washington and the crew that was doing the movie Mississippi Masala.
Yes.
I received a big fruit basket. And they told me that Denzel said, the young lady, that if she survived this, I want to meet her. Mm-hmm. I really want to meet her. And just so happens that he didn't get a chance to meet me. And I still believe one day I am going to meet him because I'm going to tap him on the shoulder. So I'm that young lady that survived that shooting that night.
There you go.
So that he will remember that I am that young lady that survived with 6 bullet holes in me. Mm. The bullet that landed, that's still in my heart now, not in my heart, but when I got shot that night, it landed on my heart. Mm-hmm. Not even an inch from my heart. It was on my heart, sitting directly on my heart. Mm-hmm. And they feel like that bullet was the 9mm that was sitting on my heart. Mm-hmm. The bullet that rerouted itself around my organ, they said, well, we don't know what that one is because we can't tell. We don't know where it went to in all this time. They did not want to remove it because they knew if they removed it, I probably wouldn't have made it. So they said, okay, we're just going to keep the bullet in her because it didn't pierce her heart. It's just that she's alive today, to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And I just thank God that I did survive that. Mm-hmm. And here I am, a testimony. And this is my reality of that situation that I went through. Because I'm alive today to talk about it. Mm-hmm. other people are not allowed today to talk about what they have experienced, but I am a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Absolutely.
always sit down and look at that
Mm-hmm.
and say, you know what, God, out of all these years, God finally gave me a response because I kept praying to God and asking God, why? Why me? Why did I survive? You showed me this in a vision a year before it happened. Why did I survive? Out of all these years, this happened on September 9th, 1990 at 8:47 p.m. that night when the shooting occurred. 8:47 p.m. that night. On January the 3rd at 8:47 p.m. of this year, God came to me and told me why. He said, I use your body as a shield. You shielded 3 people that night. You shielded your cousin. He allowed me to go back to sleep that night and show me what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, he said, you shielded your cousin. And he showed me where I shielded those 2 young ladies.
Mm-hmm.
He said, each bullet was meant for your cousin and those 2 young ladies.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I position your body to shield them so that they would survive.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew you would be the one who would survive, who can take those bullets in place of them. He said, so that's the reason why I use you as their shield. That night I cried. I said, oh my God, out of all these years, I needed to know why I was used, because I felt like my body was their shield. Because everything that I seen, everything was going in slow motion. So when I seen this, I'm like, oh wow, oh my God, this really did happen. And here I am alive today to talk about it. Even though I lost so much blood, but I'm alive today to talk about it.
Exactly.
And I've been more happier now because he showed me on January the 3rd at 8:47 p.m. that night that I use your body to shield them. He's because I knew you would be a good shield for them. And ever since then, I've been more happy to just tell my testimony a lot more openly now than I were to certain people that I was telling my story to. So I am a blessing today.
Absolutely.
I am a blessing. Even though my kids say, Mom, you're another 50 Cent. He survived. You survived. Wow, we don't know what bullets he was shot with, but you was shot with a 38 and a 9mm automatic, and you still standing today. And they always tell me, Mom, you know, you strong, very strict, but you're strong. I just thank God you still here because you never would have had the other 2 sons.
Exactly. Exactly. Now you put a lot out there just now, and I want to tell you that I really appreciate your openness in what you're talking about. But let me ask you this question. All that happened a few years ago, and you know that it's all because of God. He allowed you to make it to the point where you are today. And to God, to certainly to God be the glory. But how are you doing today? What is your reality today?
My reality today is that I have seen so many young kids that hang out there in the streets. Like my son's friends, I would sit down with them, I would talk to them, let them know there's nothing out there but trouble. And my son told me, he said, man, if I tell y'all what happened with my mom, y'all won't believe me. So when they asked me, said, your son said you got shot 6 times. I said, I have 6 bullet holes in me. And when I showed them where the bullet holes were, I said, I don't want y'all to think they're obvious. I said, but I'm going to show y'all what the bullet holes are. When it was like, oh, wow, those are big bullet holes. Say, were those holes that big? The holes were the size of a quarter and a nickel. That's how big the holes were. The holes that were in my chest were the size of quarters. And the holes that were in my breast, they were the size of nickels. The ones on my arm, I think they told me those were the size of a nickel as well. But about all of that, I sit there, and when I see these young kids on the outside acting like they gangsters, wannabe thugs, once I told a few of them my story, and I said, see, I survived. Y'all might not be able to survive that.
Yes.
And this guy, he told me, he said, ma'am, he said, I really want to talk to you about something. So on my lunch break one day, I sat down with him, and he said, the reason why I want to talk to you is because I know that you said you survived, and you got all these bullet holes in you. He said, my brother did survive. And I said, oh, wow, what happened? Before he can tell me what happened, I felt what happened. I felt what happened. And I said, hold up. I said, your brother was shot through the chest, right? Point blank. He said, yes, ma'am, he was. I said, by his own friend, because of a girl. He said, wow. He said, anybody tell you this? I said, no. I said, I felt that. He said, so the girl did have something to do with it. I said, yes. Right to this day, when they went back, he told his parents that that girl did have something to do with it. They already knew. To this day, I hate that I solved the case for them because I really didn't want to be a part of it, but it still brought justice.
Yeah.
It still brought justice because finding out that that young lady did have something to do with that. And from telling him that, it healed them. It healed their family because they've been wanting answers for months, for many months. And for him to come to me and ask me, and I came straight out and told him, he was like, you really helped my family to solve this situation, this issue that was going on that people doubted that she did. He said, don't you know this young lady is living with my parents right now?
Wow.
I said, are you kidding me? He said, she just moved in with my parents because she didn't have nowhere to go. And even though I told him what happened and he told his parents, they never put her out. They never put her out. But they told her she could not leave there because they found out that she did have something to do with him getting killed. So at that moment in time, the police arrived. When the police arrived, they did arrest her because she didn't deny it in front of them that what happened, that it was her fault. And she told them she was only saying it for a joke, didn't expect him to get killed for real. But when you joke about something like that, it's not a funny matter once that person's life is taken.
Exactly.
Because now it's too late. This person done lost their life. And I try to see so many young kids that walk past by me and they like thug. I stand up, I hold a conversation with them just to see where their mind frame is. And I would ask them, okay, what do y'all like to do? What do you really want to do in life? Do you want to play ball, play any kind of sports? Do you want to sit out here be gangsters or want to be thugs? Because you're not a thug, you're not a gangster, but the real gangster's dead. I would always tell them the real gangsters are dead. So what do you want to be? Do you want to live or do you want to die? Because either or, you keep living the life you're living now, sooner or later you're going to die or be in jail for the rest of your life. A young man told me that changed him when I told him that. He said, you changed my life when you told me that. And I seen this young man 2 years ago. Ever since then, this young man had been in college and graduated and doing better for himself. He is the first kid in their family to go to college. And I thank God that I do talk to these young men and young women about everything that they're doing, because I am an example. But I survived even though I wasn't a thug or a gangster. But at that time, my family didn't even know that I was studying to be a police officer. But after I got shot, that was a no-no for me. I couldn't do it. I said, no, I can't do this. I cannot be a police officer. Receiving all these bullet holes? No, I can't do that. Even though they crack jokes like, if we put water in you, it's going to leak out because you got all them holes in you. I said, okay, y'all want to crack jokes, okay? Thanks for the joke. But my issue, me getting shot, helped me helping other people. I try to help them. Young ladies walk around here want to be something that they're not. You can't be something that you're not when it's not really in you. You're only doing it because you see other people doing it. Some young ladies are doing it because of the simple fact that that's how they grew up. That's the only way for them to survive. But if we can come together as a community, we can show them how to survive by being there for one another instead of walking around here and want to shoot your own kind. It's not right. It's not right. So I'm one of the ones that try to talk to them and say, no, it's not right to do this. It's not right to do that. And one guy told me, just so happened that 2 weeks ago, he said, ma'am, I said, yes. He said, this is not the lifestyle I want to live. He said, ma'am, he said, I want to be a basketball player. I said, do you really? He said, if I can be a football player, he said, I'd do that. He said, I'm trying to find me a job, trying to do this, trying to do that. I gave him information to help him find those jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And that young man is working right today. Even though it's through a staffing agency,
Mm-hmm.
he's happy because he's able to get money the right way.
Yeah.
That's not how he wanted to live.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how he wanted to live, but he had to leave out of the area that he was in order to go forth. And for him to go forth, he said, you know what? Long as they know that I'm trying to live right, they're going to do something that cause me to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, I'm going to leave this area. He said, I got my own car. I'm going to leave this area. He said, I got to get out of here because I can't make it out here being around them. I'm going to always want to be a thug. I said, no, don't put that you want to be a thug on you. Put that I'm going to be a better person.
Exactly.
As long as you speaking positive things in your life, you're going to have positive things in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Never speak negative. I don't like when people speaking negative things around me. I don't like it at all. I teach my kids, don't say, okay, what if? No, it's not what if, it's what is that you are going to do, and not what if you're going to do. If it's positive, you're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, I'm not going to let anything hold you back. For what? To be like those guys that shot me? The guys that shot me, they never, ever went to jail for shooting me.
Mm.
My family fought it. They fought it. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that got killed, they never went to jail for that. I was told that the gun was through in some lake in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
When it was time to have their trial. These guys are walking free. And when I seen one of the guys, I came outside. It was a month or two later after I had gotten shot. And I said, okay, can I speak with you for a minute? He didn't want to speak to me. He said, no. He said, your family. He said, I'm scared of your family. I said, no, it's just you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Let me speak to you for a minute. He walked up to me. This young man started crying. He said, I'm sorry. I said, no, that's okay. I said, I forgave you a long time ago. I said, because it's not like that. You was trying to shoot me. The bullets weren't meant for me in your eyes, but God allowed me to receive those bullets to protect my cousin and somebody else. I told him that. Mm-hmm. At that time, I didn't even know that that's what God used my body for, because it was so many years that I had to look at this. Mm-hmm. And come to find out, God did use my body to shield them. And like I told him, I said, the night it happened, I forgave y'all. Then I said, I even forgave y'all before it happened, because I knew it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. He said, wow, are you kidding me? He said, well, you know, I'm on crutches because I got shot in the leg. And I told him, I said, you know what, to be honest, you deserve that. Yeah. I said, because y'all didn't have no business out there shooting anyway. Mm-hmm. Just to stop the people from the city, from the outside the city limits, from coming in the inside of the city limits. I said, that's wrong. I said, those people you were fighting were my cousins. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow, I didn't know they were your cousins. I said, either or, instead of fighting one another, y'all should have been joining hand in hand. Mm-hmm. And trying to be there for each other. And as time and years passed, these guys became cool. Even though they don't talk about what happened. Mm-hmm. But these guys became cool. Yeah. And when I seen one of the guys, as we are of age now, I asked him, I said, now, how does it feel to look back and realize you never served time in prison for it? Mm. He said, I wouldn't have a wife and I wouldn't have kids. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I said, exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I grabbed him even that day, a month or so after it happened. I grabbed him, I hugged him, I made him hug me. Yeah. And when I seen him again, he hugged me then. Mm-hmm. So it's like every time I see him, we always hug each other. Mm-hmm. Always. But he did tell me something. And I told him, I already knew. He said, I'm the one that had the 38. Mm. I said, wow. He said, I'm the one that had the 38. I said, that's fine. I said, that's the same 38 that's in the Texas Lake, right? He said, yes. He said, somebody took it from me and they drove it there that night. And I said, okay, but it's years later, you know, y'all got to quit it for us. So there's nothing we can do about it. I said, the only thing we can do right now is just join hand in hand and be that person or be the people that we need to be right today to keep the community. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Those young men change throughout time. Mm-hmm. And I found out that one of the young men decided that he would continue to stay on that path. Mm. But he ended up getting killed because he stayed on that path. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The other one ended up on drugs because he stayed on that path. Mm-hmm. But when you constantly live in a path and you're not trying to get away from that environment, something's gonna happen. Prison or the grave.
That's right. That's right. There's only two roads. There's only two roads you can end up. Well, I'm looking at the time, and actually, it's about time for us to close up. I'd like to do a part 2 with you because I know there's a lot more tied up into your story. I know there's a lot more time that we didn't get an opportunity to get to right now, but I want to give you an opportunity right now to say anything that it is that you might want to say in your closing. What would you like to say in your closing?
In my closing, I would like to say that we need to come together as a community.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to fight one another. We need to bond together because everything that we're facing right now, this ISIS, the politician trying to keep us apart from one another, want us to kill each other, is wrong. We need to come together as one unit and be the people that we need to be. We need to show them that we are the world. We built this world.
Mm-hmm.
So as me being the person that I am, I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing to make sure that I'm still embedding great things in young men and women that I see, even on my job, because they do have a life. Only if there are people like myself that can stand out there and say, you got a life to live for. Change. You change. That's part of help changing the world. If you change, your friends would change. Your friends would change. Other people besides them would change. So long as we change in the world, we can change. You can change your future.
And you know what? You said something that was real powerful right there, because what a lot of people don't understand is that it starts with one.
That's right.
It starts with one person. One person have to make that change. And once they make that change, you'll see it's like almost like a ripple effect. It'll spread out. And before you know it, your whole group, your whole clique, if you will, is changing and doing something positive. Cassandra, I want to thank you very much. Thank you very much for allowing us to come into your reality. I want to let everybody know if you want to get in contact with the broadcast, we would love to have you. Actually, give us a call, 678-381-1973, 678-381-1973, or send us an email, heavensaidyes@gmail.com, heavensaidyes@gmail.com. This is Into Your Reality. I'm Raheem Ajame. Want you to do me two favors, if you will. One, I want you to go out there, find somebody, and I want you to give them a hug, because you never know. It could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. And I want you to say a prayer for me, because I'm certainly praying for each and every one of you. This is Raheem Ajame, and we're exiting another episode of Into Your Reality. Love you all. Stay blessed.